movie. Name the sleeping dictionary. So, let's begin. In the beginning of the movie, we see John who reaches a village named Shravik via boat. After reaching there, John meets his senior officer Henry. Henry welcomes him and asks the reason for his coming here because John was a talented boy and he had many options apart from this job. John tells Henry on this matter. His father was in the military when he started his job. Then he was sent to this village. Then he taught some people of the village, but later he dies in a war, due to which my father's dream of teaching this village remained incomplete. But John has come here and he will fulfill his father's dream. After this, Henry takes him to that village, where John meets the head of that village. The villagers say this to John. If he wants to live in this village, then he will have to follow all the rules of this village. After this, the chief gives wine to John and asks him to drink, but John does not drink. But here he could not refuse, because if he refused, then it would insult the whole village. And so he starts drinking wine. After this, he sees that beautiful girl who brought the wine and he keeps looking at her. That girl falls in love with him at first sight. After this, the villagers dance according to their tradition and they ask John to dance as well. After this, John stands up and narrates a poem to everyone, but no one likes his poem. After this, a man named Balansai comes to John and he starts dancing with John. Seeing both of them dancing, everyone starts laughing and makes fun of both of them. Next day, Henry brings that girl for John, whose girl John likes. That girl's name is Salima, and John did not know the language of that village, and Henry tells John, Salima will teach you the language of this village. Henry tells John here that Salima will take care of his every need and she can treat John like a wife, and he can be intimate with her too. John feels very strange when he hears these words of Henry, but Henry is John's boss and on his insistence John has to obey him. But John tells Henry, I will learn the language from Salima, but will not be intimate with her. Henry gets angry on hearing John's words and walks away. This is where we see some Chinese people enter the village, who were killed by these people. The chief asks John to get his severed heads, but John gives this work to Balansai, but Balansai brings some monkeys instead of Chinese people. Due to which John's joke here again goes to John. There is a lot of insulative feeling on this. After that, we see the man who works with John brings his nephew so that John can intimate with him, because the man thinks that John is not intimate with Salima because John is a gay. John gets very angry when that man says this, and he asks that man to let fellow Salima go from there, on which the man tells John, if Salima left from here, everyone will think that John is really a gay. After this, John stops Salima from leaving. Once John was teaching children. At the same time, he learns that Balansai is the only person in this village who can hold his breath for the longest time underwater, on which John challenges him and there is a competition between the two. In this game, John uses oxygen cylinder, but the people of this village do not know anything about oxygen cylinder and John wins this competition easily. After this, the people of this village start respecting John a lot and they start obeying him. At night, when Salima is teaching John the language of that village, then both of them come very close to each other and become intimate with each other. After this, both of them go on like this and both of them get intimate many times. Once Salima gets intimate, she starts going to her house. On this, John asks him to stay here for the night, but Salima tells John, if she stayed with him at night, then both of them would get engaged because it was the custom of those people, but John did not want anything like that. The next day we see Henry invites John to his house for dinner. Henry has a daughter whose name is Cecil. She has come here after studying from England. She was doing research on the people here in England and she comes to know a strange truth about the people here. She came to know that in earlier times, whenever an officer used to come to this village, the villagers used to give him a girl to be intimate. All this was the custom of this village. That girl teaches the language to the visiting officer. Apart from this, there was also an intimate with him, but Cecil does not know this. The people here still follow the same customs. Cecil asks John over here, is there any feeling developed in that girl and the officer who came? But Henry used to have a different view from these people. Henry used to think this thing was absolutely wrong. Henry used to think there should not be any feeling between the girl and the officer of this village. This is simply a custom of the village. But John thinks so. There should be a real feeling between the two of them because John too was feeling the same for Salima now. Cecil wanted to do more research here and John helps him in his research and takes him around the whole village. Cecil's mom sees these two together and she tells John, John, you should marry my daughter because you two look great together. Hearing this, John feels very strange. John is unable to speak anything because of Henry here. Within a few days, the people of the village suddenly fall ill and these people start dying one by one. No one could understand what was happening here. After that, John and Balansai go to check in the forest where they see some people who were mining silver. Seeing these people,